Hello everyone, thank you for joining me again for part 2 of Download Updater. In the first session we went through the basics of how the application worked and what I expected out of the application. Showed you a quick test of how it ran. What I'm going to do now is actually make a change to the application and show you that it is actually updating the application correctly. So let's come in here and I need to open up my Solution Explorer. And Properties window. Alright, I'm going to change the color of the background. It's a quick, very visual way of showing that it did work. Now, since I've already got this program installed, what I'm going to do, all I need to do for this update to work is build the application. So even though I have my setup here, I don't really need to create a whole new setup application. Normally I would for new customers or new users, but right now since I'm just doing an update to the application, I'm just going to go ahead and build the new application. Oh, one thing I forgot to do is I need to come into Assembly and update the version. This is where it pulls the version information for the program, assembly and version. So you have to make sure that every time you make a change, if you want that update to propagate out to your customers or clients, you need to make sure you update this. You don't have to worry about the publish version updates or the automatic updates. As a matter of fact, the click once update is turned off. I don't have that updating at all. The other thing I do here, let's see, where is it? Oh yeah, under security is I turn off the enable click once security settings because I'm actually doing a setup versus a click once installation. Okay, so as long as we have this set up correctly, I'm going to go ahead and build my application now. And now I will go ahead and go directly into my projects bin folder. Okay, this is my new application. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And I'm going to copy it to my web server. Okay, and then now here is the update test program or file. This is the one that checks for the versions. You can see I've already got it set to 16. And if I look at this now, properties of this application details shows that this is version 16. Now this version here is still 15. If I open up the location of where this program is installed, program x86 files, my business, update test, you can see here the version is still 10015. Now also here you can see I've got the DLL updates, a DL updates application in the same folder as my application that I want to update. You don't have to do this, you would just have to change the path of where this DL updates program is installed in your parameters. I just automatically, when I run the setup, I add this to it so it always gets installed. Yes, I'll have multiple copies out there, but at least it's there for each application. If somebody uninstalls a different application, they don't lose the ability to update. So go ahead and let's run this. Now notice there's no menu, and the color is this peach color. So let's go ahead and check for updates. Now you can't see this screen, but I'm getting a user account control image on my screen, and I have to allow it to access user account control rights or administrator rights. So let's go ahead and check. There we see that there is a new version out there. I'm going to go ahead and update. And let me go ahead and show you that this program is still open. And let's go ahead and update now. Now you can see here, again, it gives me this option. If I click retry, it's not going to do anything. It goes back and tries again, but notices that the program is still open. Now I can either click ignore, or I can just close the program. I'm going to close the program this time, and then click retry. Update was successful. Restart the application. I say yes, and there we go. I've got the menu. I don't know what happened to my menu. Didn't test this out in advance. But check for updates worked. You can see now I've got the blue versus the peach color that I had before. Okay, sorry about that. Looks like I had a little problem with my test application. But now I got it working. If I go ahead and click update test, bring that back in here. Now I can click help, check for updates, and it'll bring up the update. Sees now that I'm at a different version because I just pushed that up there to test this, and I can go ahead and update it. And click abort, and it'll just go back to my regular application. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get into the DL Updates application. This is the meat and potatoes of the program. Simple design. A couple of text boxes here with placement holders for values that I received from the other program. My Check Now button, which allows me to check for updates when this opens. And then the Update Now button, which obviously allows me to update to the current version if one's available. Inside here this is a web browser, and it pulls in an HTML page. Again, like I said, it's personal preference. You don't have to have this. If it does, don't use it. You can either delete it and not use it at all, or it's just going to come up with a page not found. Down here is the progress bar. Let's go ahead and look at the code. A couple of imports that you need. Again, here is the link to the version that I based this on. Here's our variables that we need. This is the app path that we bring in from the other program. The application URL. So this is the path on a local computer. This URL is the points to the application, the .exe file that's out on the web page. App name is the actual name of the application. In this case, it would be update test. File name is a variable that I use further down in the program. Version check URL, that's the URL that points to the text file that contains the version. App version is the current version of the program. New version gets set to whatever is out on the web. If it's the newer version, the version that comes from the .text file. I dim a web client as a new web client. I dim a response as a new HTTP web response, a new request as an HTTP web request, and also a URI, uniform, resource indicator. And then I do a couple of strings here that match these text files here for different reasons, because you can always, once this is open, it doesn't close unless you click update or you click the X. So if you check several times, these values might change, so I always have a default backup to work with. Okay, on form load, this is where I get the command line arguments. Now remember, in this program here, I pass it these arguments. Let me get this out of the way here. I pass these arguments the path to the executable, and then these arguments here. Now these are the path. This is the program that runs. These are arguments that the command line sees for this program. So over in here, this is how you get the command line arguments. Dim a value, a variable as a string collection or array. Get command line arguments. Simple command. That'll pull in the arguments from the command line. Windows does it, or Visual Basic does it all by itself. Now the command line parameters are zero based. The first one isn't used for anything that we need. So we only need to use the next 5 variables because I'm pulling in 5 actual items. So I ignore the first one and start with 1. The first one I send over was the app URL. Now the app URL is this first part here. This part here, but it doesn't have the application with it, the app name. And that's the third value here, because this is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now you notice that I've got these spaces in between here. The command line parameters must have spaces in between each command. And again, if you've got spaces in your text, you need to enclose it in quotes. So I'll run this here for you and I'll show you what this looks like. And I'm going to go ahead and copy the whole thing, and I'm going to put it in a text file. Not enough yet anyway. Anyway, you can see here, it doesn't need a quote in the front because this line here doesn't have any spaces. You need the space in between each parameter. Now this line here has spaces in it. You can see one here, one here. So I had to enclose it in quotes, and that's what that control care.quote does. Then the next one, the update test, is the application name. I need the spaces in between here, but I don't need quotes. Same thing with the version. Spaces but no quotes. And then same thing with the URL to the version update. If there's any spaces in here, you would have to enclose that in quotes. All right, that's all I can do for right now. I'm at my 15-minute limit, so I will end this one now and continue it in the next version. Thank you much for your time.